Well, good afternoon and good evening about I'm just sorry, half reading your message saying good afternoon and good evening. Auto smooth, I like that. I like it. That is cool. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much for letting me know, Christina. Awesome that you could all make it. Poor Rod indeed. And what a shame about insurances. Yeah, it's one of those things. I always think we have insurance for the dentist, but we don't really. We have a discount plan. And I don't know if you know what that is in Germany. It's like, it looks like an insurance. You pay a monthly installment for it, which isn't high, so it's much cheaper than an insurance. But really, it only gets you like 20% off whatever the procedure costs at the dentist. And that's not great. So I don't like going to the dentist because it just puts such a dent in my pocket. Dental insurance is super expensive. I really don't know why, but hey, it's one of those things. I do need to go. I need to have my teeth cleaned as well. So once I put my appointment in, I will be thinking of Rod. Very good. And I hope he can make it. I hope he can join us later. So I'd like to do a bit more Carrara animation today, and probably for the last time for this animation, I've got a couple of things that we can have a look at. While Julia is also here with me, she is exploring Fortnite Chapter 2, which is a super exciting new thing. So I don't know how much you know about it. It's kind of the Fortnite thing is games as a service. So that means while you install it, they give you access to the current world in a way. It's a bit like a subscription, but it's either free or it's like a very low amount of money. And for that, you can explore the world and do things in the world. And the new thing, this Chapter 2, I believe Season 2, Chapter 2, that is only gone live earlier today. And so it's a whole new player experience, and Julia is currently having a look at it. I'm looking forward to joining her later. So that's what's happening. Another thing that's happened, I don't know if you've read it on Discord in the general channel, Patrick S posted something really nice from another Discord server. I won't show you what it is. I'll just read you that wonderful comment out that someone left about me. So I'm not part of that server. I don't know what server it is, but somebody was saying, hey, I'm going to go and watch this 3D Shenanigans thing now about strand-based hair, stream we did in June, I believe, June last year. And so the first comment was from somebody named Server Mom. Any video series with Shenanigans in the title gets a +1 from me. So I thought that was very nice. Thank you so much for doing that. And then a wonderful comment, and I thought I'd share this with you because it made me blush, and I thought this is wonderful to hear this. It's from Numlock3DX, and he says, in comment to the person who wanted to watch the video, Javis Lewis is such an awesome guy. Not alone is he a super survivor, but he does what he does for the 3D community is awesome, together with some other skilled people making and showing some awesome stuff. Not only that, he teaches the noobs to get into this world. I wish I had met the man 4 years ago. So that's wonderful to hear. So thank you so much, Numlock3DX, for posting that. And maybe I'll go join that Discord server, if I may, in the future. And thank you so much, Patrick, for sharing that. That's very nice. We haven't heard from you in a while, so it's wonderful to hear back from you. Let me see if I can bring up those two animations that I wanted to share with you. This is one of them. Oh, that's so nice of you, Christina. Thank you. I put these two versions on my 3D Shenanigans channel already. This is what we've made last time. And we talked a lot about how the tweeners work, how this effect works. So we put Christina's duck in, and I had a bit of an issue with that Carrara shader. And all it was that Carrara had put the texture and the color on top of one another. And that's why the kind of the cutout of the eye texture was still showing underneath it. And at the moment I changed the shader, everything was fine. So that's all good. We've changed the water animation a little bit, so it doesn't just rotate, it rotates less, and it also moves to the left. That's nice. And the bobbing action of the ball, I believe I've changed that, I've tweaked that a little bit. But the main feature, of course, is Christina's duck, which makes such a wonderful appearance. And in fact, I love it so much, I want for that duck to be followed by more ducks in our final version. But once I had this and once I looked at it, I was thinking, hey, I can do some quick tweaks, which I did on my own without doing that on... thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate that. I did this on my own. So this is the second version. And you notice two things now. So one is if your internet connection supports it, this is a 60 frame rendition of the same thing. So I've rendered this out in 60 frames a second rather than 30 frames. And that makes this whole flickering effect a lot smoother. And that is just, that is nice. It still is an animatic, so it's not quite the final version. And I think I split this across 2 computers, and Carrara has a bug in which the caustics can look different when rendered from one computer when compared to the other. I don't know why, but there's some kind of calculation thing. But I do like the smoothness of it. So 60 frames, you can especially see that when the duck is coming in. So that's very nice. I also changed the way the ball rotates, so the ball now goes onto its axis. That I thought that's kind of nice to do that. And I've changed the way the tweener works on the 3D Shenanigans. I might change it a little bit more. In the beginning it was a Bezier tweener, so that means usually if you track something or if you move something through the picture with a Bezier tweener, it starts slow, then speeds up, then slows down again. And the effect is that the logo comes in very slow, then kind of rushes through the picture and then slows down again. Whereas in reality, we really want the opposite for the logo. We want it to arrive in the picture a bit quicker, then slow down for us to have a look at it. And then when it's at the other end of the screen, then kind of rush out again, if at all. So I've played with that. That's nice. It's still rushing out a little bit fast, but I think that's cool because we want to fill this gap with something else. And I have 2 things in mind. So the duck is so cool that I want more of them. So, thank you so much for providing that duck, Christina. That's an awesome idea. It looks much better than the first duck that we had. So I want for the duck to come in a bit early, like here maybe. And then I want it to be followed by a little group of ducks, like, 3, 4, 5 little ducklings. I'm using a replicator for this, and I can change the scale of the duck, so they're all going to look a little bit different in size. But in essence, that's, mother duck goes and does his thing, so even though it's a rubber duck, and then a group of ducks follows. That's the idea. And then the other thing I'd like to do is that since this is underwater, I think we could do with a school of fish that would just, swim through the bottom here. Just something, comes in from the diagonally here. I'm not entirely sure where we'd do that. Maybe here in the middle. Just have a group, the school of fish doing pretty much something similar to the duck, but, just come in a bit earlier and just maybe go over the logo, that sort of thing. And I like to play with that and see if we can explore that today in Carrara. Let's try it out. Let's see the duck one more time because, it's awesome. Oh, Christina, and replicators in Carrara and the way you can deal with them, they're just so easy. They're really... I recognize something about playing with Carrara every time I touch it, and that is that I have a lot of fun. And I think that's something that deserves a mention, because I remember when I made the DAS Studio animation, fun was not really... I made it to the end, and I'm rendering a second pass now with the 3D Shenanigans logo on it. But it was cumbersome, and it was difficult to put that creative vision into the program. And I feel that with Carrara, it supports you better as an artist, if that makes sense. DAS Studio is so convoluted and complex that there's so many obstacles in the way. It's just not a fun way of working. It's a lot of aggravating blood, sweat, and tears to get there, and that's not conducive to an artist's way of thinking, that sort of thing. I've got my rowdy band of strangers here, the 3D apprentices here. So sorry, I'm going to put my tea mug right in front of you. I'm joining you with a chamomile tea, and I've had a quick look at how I might do this thing, just to refresh my memory, just before we got started. And this is already kind of a little mini scene that I've made. Let me show you these 2 animations that I've made here. And that literally starts from a single fish. Can we do that? I think we can do that. There we go. Yeah, that's cool. So this is what I was thinking of making with the school of fish. So it starts with one fish, and we'll see how we can create the whole school, and then also how they can pretend to move around. I thought that was interesting to do as well. It only took 10 or 15 minutes. And that's me coming in cold into Carrara. I thought I'll give it a quick go before we do this on air. And I also tried to do the same thing with a little water filter, And that didn't look great, but because the water isn't animated, but again, it took 5 seconds to get there. So I'll do this on a brand new scene just so that we get the principle right, and then I'll do it again in our regular scene. And I won't actually save this. This was another test. Oh yeah, the fish weren't quite facing the correct way there, so we'll go get rid of that. So my scene looks just like this, and this is the original fish here, and this is the replicator. Carrara has two replicators, a regular replicator that can replicate an object that you point in all directions, and it also has a surface replicator. That's something in which you can replicate one object along a plane or path or something along those lines. Oh, it looks like I've lost the stream. I don't know if everyone else is still on it. Let me just have a quick look at the OBS. If OBS, yeah, OBS is still good. Maybe it's just my computer. Let me know if you're still good at your end. I hope so. Oh, good stuff. T-Bank, awesome to see you. Nice to see you, my friend. Yeah, maybe it's just my local return. One of those things. You can still see me, hear me. That's perfect. All right. So let's start to do this again from scratch with a small scene. And I think the most amount of time I actually spent looking for the fish. I remember I built an underwater scene with Carrara once, and I don't remember which fish I used. So it's an internal, like a built-in object in just objects down here. And there's so many, and mine's called Angel Fish. There we go, it's still selected. So I'll just go drag this guy in. They all look kind of as if they're on the side. I don't really know why that is. But hey, it's an old program. What can we do? Here he is. And Carrara comes with a default camera and a default light. So I think I'll go and leave that and just go position my camera that we can just about see the fish. I mean, considering I want to see this whole thing going in from, whoops, hello. There we go. I want to see the whole school of fish from the top. So I'll prepare for that. For now, I'll just make sure we see this kind of at a 45-degree angle here. Like so. And I'll just go see what this looks like as one frame. And it renders super fast, which is nice. I've noticed that sometimes the stream just drops out when I'm doing a CPU render. So GPU seems to be okay, but I think if I put the whole CPU, both my CPUs to good use for a render, it can get hairy at times. I'll just do one quick tweak to the light. I'll just make that a bit less harsh. And I'll give it a plane on the floor as well, so that we can see a bit of a background there, not just the blackness. Light effects, perhaps. Soft shadows, perfect. 1 foot. That's it. T-Bank, how's it going today? So nice to see you again. I'm going to go and put an infinite, where is it? Infinite plane, that's it. I'll put that in, and that'll just be our kind of our ground. Infinite is good with Carrara because you don't have to extend a plane. It just infinitely expands, which is nice. I think I'll also go get rid of these two areas here and just have a look at my fish with the director's camera. Alrighty, the fish itself, we'll just leave him as it is and add a replicator to the scene. That was this thing, I think. Yes, perfect. So these little disclosure triangles mean that there's some other options going on. Don't know if you can see that when I zoom in. That might be just out of the picture. No, you can, that's perfect. So if ever there's a disclosure triangle, when you click that, there's other options. So this thing currently is the surface replicator, but if I select the other guy, then I'll just go drag that into my scene over here. Just keep left clicking and dragging it into it. Then that's the replicator object. Currently we don't see anything, but as soon as I drag my angelfish onto the replicator, man, onto the replicator. There we go. Then the replicator will use that object for replication, and we see all these little dots around the scene. And that's just the default way that the replicator comes in. I think it goes and turns it into a 10 by 10 grid. I'm glad you like it. Carrara is just, I was saying this in the beginning, Carrara is one of those programs that kind of makes me happy. I don't really know why. It just has these super complex options, but they have a kind of a plan behind them. It's easy to grasp once you have the concept down. And also, I guess the close to 1,000-page manual that comes with Carrara probably helps. So in our replicator, we access that by selecting the replicator and going into this little kind of wrench icon here. That's always for anything like a vertex object or a terrain object or a tree object. That's always the thing that you go into to make changes to that particular object. So it's dynamic as well. The room looks different when you have a tree or when you have a landscape or when you have an ocean or a replicator. It always looks different. When you click it, this is what it looks like. It's kind of an over-crazed large window. It doesn't really need to be that big, but it's, the text is really small, so I do apologize for that. I'll try and zoom in if and when I can. This just says what objects we want our replicator to replicate, in fact, so I can add others, or I can just drag them in on the scene window there. That's an easier way. Replication method, we have a few, like grid, rectangle. We can have a ball so that it replicates around a ball, or an arc. That's what we're going to use in a moment, so that we have that kind of triangular shape going. I'll leave it as grid for now. And just have a look at some of the other options here. Number of objects down here, that is this massive slider that actually ends up with a number here. And that currently replicates 10 objects in the X and the Y axis and just one in the Z axis. And that's kind of what we want, unless we want several levels of fish on top of one another. I think 10 and 10 is just too much, so I'm going to go and drag that down maybe to 5 and 5 or 5 and 4. You can see a live update of your scene down here, just so that, just a tiny update there. And the grid cell, that denotes the size of how big a grid or how big replication method we're using here. Currently 5 by 5 by 5 feet. That's a bit much, so I think maybe since they're really small fish, I'll go with 1 by 1 and by 1, I guess. And so that shows us it's now smaller. We see this as just that here, small, and I can move the replicator and the object that I'm replicating independently. So I would like to show both objects, but you don't have to do that. You can have one object that's kind of off screen somewhere and then just show the replicated objects. I can even make the replicated, let me just bring the replicator slightly closer to our thing here, or let's just say the fish closer to the replicator, and also in line with the replicator like this. Yeah, it means I need to set my camera up again, but for demo purposes it works well. So I don't have to show the fish here. I can make that higher or lower or whatnot. I'll move it above the ground. Or actually, I'll leave it here and I'll just move the plane, the infinite plane, slightly down, because that's just our floor. I don't want them to be too close to the floor. So I can move the fish further away if I want it, or I can move it closer, or I can just move it off the screen altogether. Anything goes, really. Christina, now that the emote, by the way, Twitch have approved another emote for me, well, an emote slot, so we can make another one. I was thinking we can always use a duck. That's another cool little thing. We need to use a bit of fantasy to see this, because the objects we don't see them. I believe I can make that happen by clicking on replicator, and then I believe somewhere there was an option to switch this on that you see the actual geometry in the preview, but I don't remember how to do that. So we'll we're kind of stuck with just seeing little facets here. We'll see this in the render. But what I wanted to show you is if I click on the angelfish here and I change its rotation, you'll see that the bounding boxes here also change. So anything that my regular object does here, I just need to make my plane unselectable. Somehow, I also forgot how that works, sadly. I keep touching the plane. I don't want to do that. I'm sure there's a way to make it unselectable. So you can rotate the fish and all the squares will do it. But if you move the fish, then the squares will not move, which is kind of cool. That's good to know. I'll go back and play with the replicator settings. I'll see if I can make it happen so that it gives us that triangular look that I'm after. I think it was with arc. Arc is a bit unpredictable in regards to the pattern that it gives you. So we may just have to play with the location of the fish in relation to this and also with the rotation of all this stuff. So I believe now the fish won't face the way the other fish is facing. So I believe we need to go and just, I don't know why I've got issues here with my mouse. It's not moving as smooth as I would like it to. There, I believe this now, if this thing fans out, I think this is now all the fish swimming into this direction. That's kind of what I want. So I'll go move this into the front. He's kind of the leader of the pack. Almost. And then if he rotates, all the other guys rotate as well. That's the plan. If it'll come out that way, we'll see. So I'll just frame my camera up again because I had moved so many things. And let's see if this renders the way I'm thinking it should render. And it does. So that's our school of fish now. That's nice. The shadows, I mean, they're not ideal, but ignore them for now. The thing that we notice, though, of course, is that every fish is exactly the same. So it's now an exact replica of literally the head man here. If we wanted to bring a bit of variation in that, I would like to vary the size of all the fish, and I would also like to vary their respective rotation to one another. So I don't really want them to look exactly uniform. I'd like them to be a little bit different. And Carrara can do amazing things. You can even randomize shaders that way. But I think with a plugin, I'm not really familiar how to do that, but it's an awesome way to get total variation really quickly and easily into the objects. So let me go and make that size and rotation variation, and then we can see what that looks like. And we'll apply exactly the same technique in the scene. Maybe we can even bring what we're building here directly into the scene. Don't know. Figure it out. Well, Rod can always watch the pre-record or the rerun on YouTube. So in the replicator, I'll just go back into the replicator, and there's these two things at the bottom. So one is that we can vary the scale. That one's the most exciting. So we can say 100%, but that'll make them really like varied. So I believe what this means is a bit like in Blender. 100% means that from they can vary up to like 100% more and 100% less. That may be a little bit too much for our fish because they're all kind of the same size. I'm going to go with 30%. That's that. And then rotation is the same thing. You can set the degrees of variation from the current point. So we need to be concerned about the Z-axis. That's this. And I'm not really sure how much variation I want. I'll just try 40 degrees. And that's that. We'll see what that looks like in the render. There's this one other button here which is shuffle, and if you press that, then each object will be shuffled. These two things will be taken into consideration. But it'll be like same with position. You can vary the position of the objects as well, like trees on a landscape, for example. And if you hit shuffle, then everything will be, the position and scale and rotation will be recalculated. So I'll go, we don't have to do it now because we only have a few fish, and they do change a little bit, but I'm not too concerned about it because it's not an epic landscape. Let's see what happens when we render this. And there's certainly more variation in there. I think scale worked well. I think I'd like more of that, but also rotation. I think we need more of it. That'd be kind of cool. Let's try that. Let's go with more. Let's go with, let's say 60%, and maybe even something like also 60% for the rotation. Let's do that. Shuffle them around and Command R to render. That's much more varied. I like that. It's almost like the larger fish are now following the smaller guy. So we can always make him a bit larger in the beginning. That's we can do that. Yes, let's try that. To bring up this universal, oh, look at that. So scale also affects the other guys. I'm just seeing, so scale and rotation. So that makes all the other fish move as well. Might just, not do that then and just take the scale down a little bit. Yeah, maybe we'll make the size variation 50%. This here, create real instances, by the way, that turns everything, that's basically applying the modifier. If you think in Blender terms, it'll create, I think it retains the replicator, but it also creates real copies of the objects. And then you can get rid of the replicator if you want to do that. It's kind of like applying it, but we don't need to do that. We can just leave it in place like this. One final render. See if we're all happy with that. Oh yes, I wanted to have a look at what this looks like from the top here. If I just go and have a look, because this is our camera point of view really, from the top. Does this look good? Does it need to be larger? So maybe the fish at the front are a little bit scrunched up. We can just fan that out a little bit. And perhaps we don't necessarily need to see so many shadows there. I don't know how that's going to pan out in the final scene. I guess it depends on how close or far away they are from the ground. I think I'll just make the whole replicator grid a little bit wider, and then the fish will pan out more. For us to make this just see better where the fish are, I'm going to take the shadows away. That's on the light source. I can just go and have no shadows here. So I've got the idea about ray traced, shadow map, shadows, or I can just set this to none, and then the shadows won't be calculated. And then I'll only see the plane and the objects. Yeah, so let me just make that a bit wider here. Along the x-axis, I believe. That's back in the replicator. And then that's the grid cell. So maybe I'll go and say 1.5 for X. Is that what does it? Is that how it works? I can actually make this, oh, look at that. This is even better. I can actually give myself a larger preview window here. That's actually much better. Courage to try these things out. Sometimes I don't have that. Oops. Sadly, I can't really... I didn't want to move this exactly, so all I wanted to do was, do that. So grid cell, oh look at that, it hasn't actually taken 1.5, I say. That's X, so it's probably the other one. Is it probably Y? Let's try 2 here. Yeah, right, that fans them out more. And then this will do that. That's more like a big school of fish. Let's try that out. Oh, I see that. It retains that setting in all the rooms. That's why I never did it, I guess. Kind of sounds familiar, but hey. Oh yes, and also maybe now that we've changed so many things in the replicator, I'll go and shuffle my little guys around again, so that I suppose you can just about see what happens when you shuffle. In the bottom right corner here, you can see that the position of the objects changes. So yeah, Anything we're happy with. Perfect. It's like the make art button. Okay, let's have a look what this looks like rendered. Large school of fish. I wonder if they're fanned out too much now. I think maybe I liked it when they're a little bit, you know, when they didn't quite have that fan going. Maybe I'll change that back. Okay, perfect. Rod, come on, make that car go faster. Yeah, so I'll set X back to 1. Why does that do that? That's I don't understand. This is I'm expecting. Oh, this is Y then now. This is Y now. Y. All right. Look at that. 1.5 and 1.5. That's what we need. Perfect. Shuffle around again. Get to work. One other thing I'd like to just try. I don't know if this is going to work. I'd like to ideally save my object in the content browser, and I believe that works somehow like this. Somehow with the browser, there's my content. Was it objects? My objects. There we go. Can I just drag that in? I believe that's how it works. You just drag that in, and then it's in my objects. Fish school, and we'll just hope it'll stay in there. Fish school. That should be the whole replicator. That's how you can save something to the library, and then hopefully just bring it back just as easy into what we want to do in our other scene. Let's try it out, shall we? Let's open up my Underwater 8, I think it was. Yes, Underwater 8. I have several versions of it because one of my render nodes was helping me render this. And that worked well. So here's our scene. This is what we have so far. Go and make my timeline a bit more zoomed out here, like so. Then the duck comes through. Very cool. So one thing I did do is that the animation here is kind of half speed of what it is for real speed. I could go ahead and tweak that because then we have a real-time preview, like a better real-time preview. It would mean that I'd have to kind of retime my animation. I just need to move these keyframes to another place. It would kind of ruin the timing of what is currently in place. I'm not sure how you feel about doing that. It would mean, I mean, it is just moving a bunch of keyframes. It might just be easier for us to then be able to preview things in real time. So currently we have about 1400 frames in total. So it'll be more like 700-800. This would be the last frame, and then I could just shift all these keyframes over to the left, and then we would have a real-time preview. I think that might be beneficial. What do you think? Is that something we should risk while we're gathered here? Let's do it. Yes, because if you look at this now, the spacebar actually plays back now. What a shame. It's half the speed of what it is in the animation. So the way I set it up was a little bit too slow. So I think, and this is pure experimentation really at this point. If I say 800 is my last frame here of the animation, then I think I just go and grab all these keyframes here, and then just go and move them over here. I think that will have solved the problem. I can zoom back in, and now we should have a real-time preview of our animation. And it kind of works. We don't see the water effect because that's a render effect. But I think for things like looking at the, it's still a little bit slow, isn't it? Actually, no, it's not. It is probably correct. Maybe we should do it on 700. Let's do it on 700. Yeah, let's make 700 the last frame. Because speeding up later on is fairly easy to do, but getting the timing right is also equally important. So we'll do this. See what that looks like. Still looks fairly slow, but that's also because I've messed with the tweener. We do want to see the logo going really slow. And now the duck goes over it. Yes, I suppose those things do happen. Do you know, on second thought, I do apologize that I keep faffing around so much. I'm going to go and do this, undo this. I'll go back to the slow version, and we're not really going to preview this since the timing is correct. I remember what I need to change, so I think I'll do that. Okay, let's try and bring our school of fish into this. I'll go to the first frame of the animation just so that I can place it. I don't exactly know where I want this to go. I'm kind of thinking it could go behind the logo. I think they'll also go in from the left. Maybe they can go from here and just go swim across the logo, something like that, halfway through. But let's bring them in. And let's see if I can bring that replicator back just the way I wanted it. So with the school of fish, just drag that in. Is that the... Yes, look at that. My goodness, that's amazing. That's the whole replicator and the whole school of fish. That is very cool. That is very impressive. Very nice. I like it. Thank you, Carrara. So I'll go to my director's camera here and just have a look at the replicator in action and see where in relation to everything it is. So, okay, so the logo kind of swims in the ground. And the ground is just the background. That is a regular plane. So I think I'm going to go and drop that down a bit. This might change the... No, it might not. This might change what we see in regards to shadows on the actual logo. I didn't know it was embedded on the ground. I didn't know that. I quite like the idea of the fish to be in front of the logo anyway, so perhaps it doesn't matter. I'll just go have a look at it in the render once we see the logo here. What's the implication? And ignore the fish for now. They're just kind of in the way there. Let's make this 800 just so that we get... Oh yes, and also let's actually cancel that. I've forgotten to switch over to the single frame here. Single frame, and then a few tile size is already small. That's good. And output size is already there. Perfect. Let's have a look at the current frame. So now the shadow of the logo that I hadn't anticipated beforehand. We don't though. That's cool. That's good. Whew. That was my worry, that the shadow of the logo is now creating some nasty effects. Kind of come to think of it, maybe we don't actually need to move the plane at all. I might just move the plane back to where it was. Namely here. And all we need to do really is move the fish, don't we? So they would, whoops. The whole replicator, including fish, that'll be on top of my logo. I think, I have a feeling it's probably a little bit too big in total. Maybe it's okay. Maybe that's just their size. Let's see what, I think the fish could also be a little bit like lower, like that. Yeah, like that. Let's see what that looks like. The duck, yes, we'll slow the duck, Christina. Yes, let's do that. I think just in principle, I think I like the fish, the size of the fish, because we'll just see them rushing past. I just wonder how to animate them. I can make him do the same thing that the duck does with the oscillation tweener, and I think I'll just have them just rush through the frame like this. Yeah, I think that's the plan, from here to there, and then have them maybe just swim in a little curve or something. Yes, I think so too. We'll see if we can slow down the duck a little bit, and then especially because I like the duck so much, I'd like for more ducks to be there eventually. So we'll take care of that. Let's make the fish move the way we want them to. So because I've moved this in between here, I'm going to go and delete the keyframes here. I can just use the delete button like you would. Like any normal application would take care of it. So that is that replicator's position. And if I go and change to my regular camera again, then I'd like to start them out of vision as well. They'll stay here. Oops. It's that locked camera thing again. The moment you touch the camera, things are broken. Don't want to do that. So animation carries on to about maybe here. And I think at this point, I'd like maybe like here halfway through, like maybe here. I'd like that school of fish to pass through, because I think it's gonna be funny. So I'll take one more keyframe here with them being out of vision essentially. And now from here to about maybe here, they're swimming through, I'm thinking. And that'll be from here to here. In fact, out of vision at that point already. And perhaps also it's a little bit difficult to see these bits and bobs like so. Let's see what that looks like. So they swim like that. They swim, maybe even turn them a little bit more. I like that even better. As fish would swim. I like that little rush through there, and then we deal with the duck and more ducks at the end. So that's probably going to look nice. I'm imagining that, just seeing the replicated thing. But I'd also like to interpolate once again the movement of the head fish just from left to right. So this is going to be an independent movement to what we have in place already. So I'll go back to my camera here, and I'll go and go to the first frame of our movement, like here. And now I'm just going to select the angel fish, so just him. And on that frame, actually I'm not going to touch that frame at all. I'm going to go to the last frame and just make him turn a little bit to the left. Actually, maybe, no, I will go to this frame. We'll go to this frame, and then I'll go and turn the head fish to the left, and then when we're at the end, I'm going to turn him to the right. And then we'll use the oscillation tweener to make all the fish in the school move from left to right several times. Hello, Steve. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you. We're fiddling with replicators in Carrara. Very exciting pastime. So here's my fish on the first frame, just before he passes through. And I'll go and this is the fish selected, not the replicator. Like a moment ago, we animated the replicator, but now we're going to animate the fish individually. So we'll go turn him just a little bit to here. And that will now affect all the objects in the replicator. Now we go to the last frame of his underwater existence, and we'll go and turn his head to the right. So if we wouldn't do anything, all that'll happen now is that from this keyframe to that keyframe, he would slowly turn his head once, like from there to there. Not really the effect we're after. But if we go and mess with his tweener, then hopefully while he's swimming through, I'm trying to catch him so that we can kind of follow him here. If we mess with his tweener down here, just the rotational tweener under rotation, this is the one. If we set that to oscillate, sine wave is good. Number of oscillations, I'm thinking they're like small fish, so they're doing more or less exactly what the duck does, but just much faster. So we'll say, I'll just start with 10 and we'll see how that works. You can just about see it. I think it could even be more pronounced. I think the amount is okay. Yeah, you can just about see him do his thing, but I think he could do it more pronounced. So I will go and enhance his movements, like more left, more right at the beginning, at the end. Yeah, Joe doesn't really have any compassion for Rod. He says he should have gone while he had insurance. It's a good point. Why wait so long? Angel fish. So we're going to go on the first keyframe. We're going to go and turn you to the left more. Then we go turn you to the right more, like so. There, nicely done. I like to just preview this whole segment here. Just like from here to about here until they swim out. Yeah, this whole segment. So I'm going to go and render that. I'll go and save this as a new version here. Underwater 9. Then we can have a little chat while this thing is rendering it. Yeah, I don't like dentists either. So let's see, 800 seems to be nice. We're going to render this movie not at 30 frames a second, but probably maybe at 15. Let's do that and just go render just an AVI movie, just so that we can look at it. Actually, no, we don't. We can just use PNG for that. So let's see how that works. I hope the stream doesn't drop out too much. It tends to do that. 120 frames. I don't know, that might take longer than I had anticipated. But it is nice to just get a bit of feedback of what this is gonna look like. I can actually make this render faster by go on aboard, because we're mainly into the fish movement. So I think if I go and disable caustics and disable some of the stuff like full ray tracing, that should be a little bit faster. Let's try that. Computer crashes, and it's not actually that much faster either. Oh, you've done it! That is so exciting! Christina McKay, congratulations! That's exciting news, Christina. I believe, try it out. I tried it with mine. It's out. The C is, you can drop K and see if that works as well. The Steampunk Belladonna, how you doing? Good to see you. We're just celebrating approval of vanity URL. I believe that's what you call it. So nice to see you. Good to drop by. So yes, stream might drop out now that I'm rendering. It's one of those things that's not supposed to happen, but it does. It can happen. I wish there was a way in Carrara to say, hey, you use threads rather than all the threads. Let me know how annoying it is, and I'll find a way. I have other computers, you know. I can just put the animation to. We can work on something else while this is rendering. What I'm not seeing coming into vision here is a school of fish. Oh, the stream is dropping out. Ah, okay. Thanks for letting me know. It is me rendering this here. I shouldn't really do that. It's go abandon this venture. There, that makes the stream better instantly. And from the initial movement here, I can see from the fish, it may just, I think the speed is going to be good. The movement might be a little bit too erratic, so I might just turn that down a little bit. And you can only just see one fish cropping into the field of vision here. So that's all I'm judging this by. Yeah, I might on subsequent streams, if we do more Carrara stuff, I might just have a second computer standby that does the rendering while we do other stuff that might actually be working in our favor. As pass, I'm afraid. Steampunk Belladonna, I don't really know how that works. It's probably a Windows thing. I don't know that much about those types of affairs. I'll just let my gut be the guide, and I'm thinking a little less erratic will be good for us. So I'll just go to the first frame of his animation and turn him slightly more to the right again. That'll even that out a bit, just a bit, like so. That'll make it less erratic. And I'll leave the end keyframe in place. It's true, it's true. Yes, I got around that by increasing the gamma. The ball is in the water, it's kind of bobbing on the water, and the harsh shadow is something I wasn't quite happy with. The whole picture looks a bit too hard contrasty, so at the output, I just upped the gamma in the final render a little bit more, and it kind of worked for me. Julia didn't like the shadow either, by the way, so you're in good company there. So that's the fish, the school of fish that are now floating through our image. That's how they swim through the thing. So now, of course, we need to talk about the next thing, which is the duck. How are we going to go and deal with the duck? So that'll be... I think we'll deal with the duck in pretty much the same way. that we did with the other guy. First, we all agreed the duck is swimming too fast, so let's see if we can make that swim a little slower. And I think I'm going to do that by just making it come into vision a bit faster. So this keyframe at which he starts to swim, I'll just go and bring that forward to about, well, to about here, where the fish kind of leave the scene alone. That's a good crossover point here. Ooh. It's not good when the stream drops out at that point and I can't actually see what's happened now. Come on, come back stream, come back and tell me. Turgy Berg, thank you so much for following, for subscribing even. I appreciate that. That was a YouTube subscription. Always nice when that happens. So at exactly this point, I'll just go move that ducky keyframe here. We have duck and CMC rubber duck, so I'll just move both of them. We don't see the first duck anymore, but I'll just move that forward as well. Into here, maybe even slightly beyond that. And then fish swim out, duck comes in, is now there a little bit slower. And as a result, once the duck is about here, or maybe even has swam out, I think maybe I like that idea, then I'll start the group of ducks. That's my plan. So in order to do that, I can go and duplicate this duck and then put that duck into another replicator. So this one I'll think I'm going to call fish replicator, just so that we know what it is. CMC rubber duck, that's also good. So I'll go and grab another replicator and drag that into the scene here. And that'll be now the duck replicator. I need a fresh version of the duck or another version of the duck because I don't want this duck to drive whatever's happening in our duck replicator now. So I think I'll go and just go duplicate that. Can I do that from here somehow? No. Edit, duplicate, somehow. Duplicate's grayed out. Why is that? Enjoy the chili. Why is that happening, I wonder? Well, bizarre stuff. Bizarre stuff. Maybe I'll do what I did before and just go and drag Christina's rubber duck into my content library here. Now we have a duck. Very nice. Nicely rendered as well. Look at that. The DAZ Studio always takes whatever frame is currently on the screen and just makes that into a thumbnail. And Carrara seems to use a really nice thumbnail. So like position the object that I'm actually using and make a proper thumbnail. Nice shadows and all, very nice. Nicely done, Carrara, thank you. So now I'll just go and drag that out again into our scene here. And now it's back in the middle, that's nice. So now that I know where it needs to be around here, I'll go and position it on the first frame because I'd like for it also to be out of vision when we start here. Maybe here, maybe that starts slightly further up. And I'll just go bring it onto the same level as the other ducks are, or the other duck is. How to do like the left view? Yeah, is that left? Is that what I want? I think so. I think that's what I want. Not exactly. Home model, please. To about here. Oh, I may also need to, yeah, I think I also need to fix the shader. This is actually a good opportunity. I can show you why the shader was so screwed up. And that's in, that is, was it eyes? It may have been eyes. No, it wasn't eyes actually, it was the body. There was body 1. So this is the, which one was it? Maybe we don't have a problem anymore. Body, was just shader? I think it was just called shader, or just body. Either one of them had a mix shader applied. That was the issue. It had a mix shader that mixed the texture of that Christina supplied with a color that wasn't quite the color of the body. And I don't know why Carrara turned this into a mix shader. I fixed it on the original duck, so if it comes back, we can always fix it that way. I just don't know which one the shader is right now. So we'll deal with it when we have to. Where are all the other ducks? Oh, there! Right, so far over there, my goodness. Man, there's got to be a better way of navigating through this. The thing disappears. Well, the smaller ducks are now a little bit larger than they should be, so let's go and make them a little bit smaller. That's why I really like Blender, because all these navigational things, once you learn the shortcuts, you're just flying. I don't know if it's even possible to do this with Carrara, but I've never learned any of the shortcuts in Carrara, sadly. Not many anyway. So he's just sitting on here. I'll make him a little bit still smaller because it's it's ducklings, I guess. Then he can start here. Rod, he's back from the dentist. How are you, buddy? Good to see you. So I'm envisioning for the large duck here, he's swimming in fish. This is that duck. And these guys, they're kind of swimming from this direction into the general direction of that duck and following mother duck from here to there. I think the size works out well, but we'll vary that with the replicator now. I think I'll go, it's time for another save, I think. Let's just go over save version 9 here, so now that the duck is in the right place. And then we'll go and add that duck to the duck replicator and create a similar pattern to what we've got here, and then find a path for that duck to swim through, and then add a bit of movement from left, right with an oscillator tweener in the same way we did before. So I'll put the duck into the replicator. This was always slightly tricky because if you move your cursor too far to the right, then this happens. So you have to make sure you put your cursor to where the word is, and then you drag that onto the replicator. So when it turns green, that's how that happens. And if you just get this instead, then it just groups things together. It's just good for multi selections. I guess that's what it's for. But if you want to drag one thing onto the other, you have to be on the word in Carrara. Oh, Rod, was it painful? I hope it wasn't painful. So I think something nasty has happened. I think I put the replicator onto the duck. That is, of course, not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do it the other way around. I wanted to put the duck into the replicator. Makes more sense. And the replicator is now here. That's not where I wanted it to be. That's kind of a shame. So I'll go and see if I can create the duck pattern first with that, and then we'll see if we, see where we go from there. Yes, I see. So the replicator is now on the floor. That's totally not where we wanted it to be. So that's a shame. We shall fix that in due course. Let's see if we can go and turn this into kind of a duck shape. Actually, let me move it first. Duck and replicator. Can we look at both of them? No, we can only look at one. That's a shame. So I'll try and move the replicator. Why is this all so screwed up, man? That's terrible. Why are there no arrows anymore on my things? What is up with that? That's just broken. That works. That literally the arrows are cut off. Can I still use this? Yes. Good for me. Man. See, this is the part about 3D that I think is not really that much fun. You know what I mean? It's just, this is the opposite of what I wanted to do. So is the replicator on the surface? Yes, that's good. That's good. So right, the replicator's moved now. The duck. That's a shame. Man, this is not fun at all. It's like so mega not fun. Replicator's here. Where's the duck? Why doesn't the orthogonal view let me know how I can... Is this the duck? You're the duck? Yes, you're the duck. There. Are we there yet? As Brian would ask. Gotta have the patience of a saint for this stuff. Okay, little duck, here's the school. Where's the replicator? Is that not here? I wish there was a way to copy values of one thing to another. Maybe there is, and I just don't know it. Where's the duck replicator? In relation to the rest of the scene, Carrara. Because that's what we want to know, isn't it? Is this it? I think this is it. I think we're getting close. Whew, I think we're there already. That only took 20 minutes. That's not so bad, is it? For just positioning one item. Anyway. So without seeing any of the real geometry that the that the replicator is going to make. I don't really know if the replicated ducks will be as in the water as my main duck. I'm hoping it will be, but I don't really know yet until we render this. Ducks making trouble. Yeah, exactly. The troubling duck. Let's see how we can. What type of shape are we envisioning for a flock of ducks? Is that like the bit like the school of fish, that they're in a triangular fan-out fashion? Because I don't know what else the replicator has to offer. We can always have a look at that. So there's grid. Grid does. Well, that's helpful, isn't it? That's. We've got grid. We've got rectangle. Under normal circumstances, we would actually see this here. Do you know what worked so well with our fish? The reason why this worked so well with our fish is because I made the fish in a separate scene. Put the fish and the replicator in a separate scene, put the whole scene replicator thing into my library, and then brought that out into the other scene. That's why that worked well. I wonder if we should just do that again and just discard the replicator, the duck replicator thing in this scene, and just start again from fresh in a separate scene, set up the replicator, drag that into the library, and then drag that into our real scene. What do you think? I think that might actually be a much better idea. What do you think? Yes, Rod, I'm having trouble getting my ducks in a row. That's exactly right. Let's do that. And then because otherwise, how am I going to see what's happening here in the director's camera? So yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Duck replicator history. We'll start with a brand new medium-sized scene. Ha 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 ha. Put our little rubber duck into that scene. That means we can also fix the shader and all that. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be like really cool. I'll go get rid of these things here. And perhaps that should be our first port of call, fixing the shader. See if that works in my big body. I think it's body. Is that the body shader? No, actually I fixed that already, didn't I? I've dragged Christina's duck, the fixed duck, into my library. That's why it's fixed already. That makes sense. That makes sense. Those cloners from Star Wars. Well, this is actually quite nice, Rod, because you weren't here for this part of the session, and Joe was saying you would really enjoy that. So let's do that. Let's do that. So once again, we take a replicator from here, drag that into the scene. Replicator is now here. It doesn't really know what to do yet, so we'll go and drag the rubber duck into the replicator, and now he appears with its default settings. Aha! By default it does a 10 by 10 replica, but if I go and take the duck and put it in front of the replicator, then we can kind of emulate the fish thing with the arc, should we want to do that. It'll work out well. Whoops, there. So now if we go into the replicator, we don't see anything just yet, but if we were, and this might actually look quite funny, if we show the production frame, we would see this army of ducks, perhaps. 1280, let's try that. Current frame, there we go, army of ducks. That is nice. Maybe I'll just frame that up a little bit more. We don't have to have that many ducks for our final animation, and don't worry about the light. There. But we will have something similar, like lots of ducks. But just like before, we don't really want them all to look exactly the same. So we're going to put a little bit of a size variation in there, something along the lines of 50%, and then perhaps a little rotational differentiation there as well. And ideally, we could also change the shader. I just don't know how to do that, like randomly, just with a little variation that, you know, some are slightly whiter, some are slightly redder or whatever. And that's on the replicator. So double click the replicator or select the replicator, select the little wrench icon to go into the replicator settings. And say perhaps like, 5 by 5 is probably already too much of a duck congregation. I mean, that's 25 ducks, but perhaps that's too much. But we'll see. Scale, maybe we'll try 50% again. And the rotation, maybe 50 degrees. Let's see what happens there. Just on the Y rotation. We don't want them to go like that. Even though we could, I suppose, we could try that. Try like 5 degrees X rotation. So then they bob maybe left and right. I don't know if that's going to look good or not. Ah, interesting. I want him to be with his little family there. So let's see what this looks like. So size rotation has worked well, I think. Rotation is a bit much for me, I think. I think the X rotation wasn't quite what I liked there. Yeah, let's take the X rotation out again. A duck convoy, yes. Let's take that out. Size rotation, I can try more. Let me try 100 just for a laugh to see what that looks like. Oh, there we go. Now we have much larger ducks, and that doesn't look so good. I don't like that. None of the ducks, notice that none of the ducks really face to the right. They all face either like the other duck or to the left. They don't really face to the right. So I think we can correct that. Scale, I think I'm going to drop that down again to 40 just so that there's more, more of a cohesive theme going on there. I think I can correct that by selecting my regular rubber duck and just turning him slightly further to the, slightly further to the right. And then I think all the ducks will turn slightly to the right. An error has occurred. That's not good, is it? Well, make the error go away. There you go, Carrara, thanks. That's good. Okay, I think if I turn him slightly further to the right, I think then we're there. But the pattern is still not what I'm looking for. So this is still just a regular square pattern. So let's see if we can go and turn that into something else. Instead of grid, we have rectangle. That might be quite nice. That might be very funny. There's also ball. That's not good for what we're doing. There's a disc. It's more like a star pattern, I think. I suppose if you had many more objects, if you had just for a laugh, if you wanted to have like an audience of ducks, like that many, you could do that. So the more you increase it, this is good for little rocks that you replicate along a landscape or something. You could do that. But that's probably not going to work for us. We haven't spoken about this earlier, but the Z-axis is the one that duplicates the objects stacked up. So if you crank that up, then you get it in multiple dimensions. So imagine that as many ducks. That'd be kind of funny to render, wouldn't it? Tons of ducks. That's maybe too many. What do you think? Is that too many? Yeah, it's too many. Let's take Z out of the equation. Let's take Z out of the equation again and put Z to 1. And put these to 4 and to 5. And so the auto grid, I don't really know what auto grid is. What we used for the fish was this, and that was kind of nice. That worked well as a little kind of flock that's going there. So I think maybe we're going to use that. That we're going to use that for a duck following there. Oh dear, yes, Rod, tell us about it. What was the artist of the year? What was the result? Tell us, tell us, tell us. Oh, drum roll, please. I'm excited about that. Rod Shelley, Artist of the Year. Could that be? Have you made it? Dun, 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 dun. Rod won! Oh my god, that's unbelievable! Congrats, Rod Shelley, Artist of the Year. That's unbelievable! You made it! You were so in the lead though, and we were all voting for you. You were like miles ahead. You weren't like, it wasn't you and two other people were kind of in the lead or whatever. No, there was like you, massive gap, rest of the nominees. So amazing, unbelievable. 46% ahead. Unbelievable, Rod. Congrats, that's unbelievable. Julia is clapping hands right now. This is good, yeah. This is good, this is good, this is good. Well done. Wow. What does that mean for you? Sponsorship arrangement, anything? Front page news means an interview, that's for sure. Like a proper featured interview on Renderosity. That's going to be exciting. Wow. That is so cool. Do you know, Rod, maybe we should do an interview for Creative Minds. Maybe that'll work. It's a good suggestion from Julia. I think maybe we should do that. Set up now that you've won Artist of the Year. I think that's a great opener for that. Start at chapter 7. Let's go for it. This is cool. Whoa, very nice. I'm gonna go move my duck in front of the swarm. This may have an effect on the rotation of my ducks here, but I think I'll go and try that. We can also just leave this duck out completely and just worry about the replicated ducks. That is also a possibility, if that looks better. All right, so here they're all facing that way. Okay, so that's good. Then we can just go and turn my friend here over here. Like so. What does that look like? Yeah, look at that. That's nice. And we have the same issue that we had with the fish, that these guys are a little bit more clumped together than they perhaps should. And I believe the grid cell, I forgot which one I changed now. We'll just try this one. If I do this 7, then they fan out more like that. What happens here? That does that. Okay, that's nice. Maybe that's exactly what we need. There. I think that's a nice school of ducks that can now go and just swim across with the other ducks. Let's do that. Oh, hey, Chris. Thank you so much for dropping by. Thanks for celebrating with us. That is so cool. Do you know, Rod, that's worthy of a stream in itself. Now that you've won Artist of the Year, you're starting to stream. That's awesome. And that should be on your Twitch bio as well. Rod Shelley, Artist of the Year 2020. Woo! So I'll call this guy Duck Replicator then. And now I'm going to go and put this whole Duck Replicator into my library. Has been saved. Duck Replicator, awesome stuff. We probably don't need it anymore because, well, I can't leave it open. Let me just leave it open. And then I'll go back to our other scene, which there's quite a few of them here. Yes. Perhaps it's time to close some stuff down here. Let me just be vicious about this and go and don't save anything. Just go and close everything. Now we're going to go and start again with our underwater scene number 9, and we're going to go drag the Duck Replicator in that. There. I still have the Duck Replicator in here, so we don't really need that anymore. Right? Go get rid of that. Rubber duck number 2 is also going to be going away. Oh, we had animated it, didn't we? So yeah, I suppose we had animated it. So I can maybe use it as a guide and then delete it. Is it swimming still? No, it's not swimming. So I need to do the keyframes anyway. So it's fine. I probably don't need to. I don't need it as a guide. I'll go and get rid of it then. Bring in the duck replicator. There we go. Way to go, duck replicator. Maybe somewhere here. It should be, yes. How do we make it? Christina, make another duck and make him ugly. So can I scale the whole thing down? The whole thing, come on. No, I can't. Why not? That's uncool. I can't scale the whole thing down. I can scale this duck down, and that'll scale the rest of them down, but also the relation in between them. So I really need to scale the whole object down, don't I? Overall, can I do that? If we set that to 10%, yes, that works. Okay, so then that scales that. I see. This is not easy, man. This is not easy. I think with the fish, we didn't quite have that problem. We had, the fish came in at the correct size, but the ducks here, they appear to be ever so slightly large. So see what happens if I go and take the duck and make the duck smaller, then the whole replicator gets smaller. But that also means that we may have to change the fanning out type pattern, because that's now a bit too... It doesn't have the same shape anymore as it did before. Good point, Christina. It may be a risk. It may very much be a risk. No, that was this duck that needed that that size change. There, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. So these guys are at least in the hood somehow, and now we can work our magic once again on the shape of the replicator. So that's still intact. We just need to make the, yeah, see the grid cells is now, that's way too large. So let's go and try that with 10 and 10, and that doesn't actually matter. Yeah, that's much better. And now, of course, our head duck, if I can call him that, he's not quite at the lead anymore, so we'll move him there as well. There. I suppose that should get us started. Yeah, have a look at the camera here, have a look at this here, and then we'll see how far away are we still from being out of vision. Yeah, so I suppose he's still a bit too large in comparison to the other ducks. So I think we'll go and make him even smaller. Because they're ducklings after all, aren't they? There. And I suppose now the replicator pattern still needs to be changed because it's still a little bit much there apart. Man, I didn't know it was going to be that complicated. Let's make it like 6 and maybe 6. How's that? Yeah, that might look better. Okay, finally, let's do some animating now. Well, it looks like this duck already has keyframes in there. How can that be possible? How is that possible? I mean, it's nice. They're kind of, except for the movement at the front, they're not in the correct position, but it is kind of the movement that I'm after. That's not bad. Great. I don't know why it retained that, but I'm kind of happy about it. So we'll just go make that start later. And then we're good. Oh, good. How exciting. That's fun. Not sure why, but it is. So that's exactly the kind of movement I had in my... Oh no, that's the fish. What am I talking about? My ducks aren't moving. I'm seeing things. Oh, Chris, are you going to do that on the stream? Are you going to do that live? I'm just thinking where the duck family should come in. Perhaps right here. Yeah, let me go set a keyframe here on the whole replicator, just so that from here to there, there's no movement. And then literally from here, I could probably go and make sure that at this point, we're not quite in vision yet. So we'll come in from here. We don't want to be in vision at that point. And this movement, I don't really care about. We can just go and take that out and that. Whoops, so sorry. And just make sure that this keyframe here of the, oh my goodness, what have I done? Duck replicator, where are you? There we go, that's the one. That's what I wanted to. Take this away, no, that's the fish replicator. Man, it's the duck replicator I'm talking about. Put that here, put another keyframe here so that there's no movement between here and there. And then from here to literally the end of it, that's when I want my ducks to be out of vision. There's something funky going on with the ball on the last frame. I think I'll take care of that in a moment. Just go and make this the last frame. Oh, these ducks are way too large now, aren't they? They're just way too big. What a shame. I thought that was all kind of set and ready to rock. Maybe it's just the size distribution of the ducks. That could be. I wish I could learn how to navigate in Carrara properly. So I make the whole duck congregation slightly smaller. I thought this was taken care of. I thought we had done that. So smaller duck, but also in the replicator. Maybe like 4 and 4 then. That might work better. What is target time, Chris? Which I have done, Rod, you know. I have just confused the fish and the duck. That's not good. That is not good, I tell you. So this movement, I'm happy about that movement. That's okay. I just want to make sure that the replicator isn't scaling between these two things. I think it doesn't do that. Right, so from here to last frame of vision, which is somewhere here. So we said these ducks, they're going to come in from, oh yeah, I said, yeah. I said they're going to go from here down to where the other duck is, like that, but they have to be kind of out by that. That might be a bit too fast, so you may have to move that keyframe away at one point. I just want to move them out of vision so that they're not there when we have the last frame of vision. So that's from here to there. Okay, fine. So that needs to be, you guys need to be further down here, and then also perhaps turn the whole replicator thing around so that we're all kind of swimming not this way, that we're all swimming kind of this way more. I think I'm okay with them shooting off the side a little bit. I like that. I like that round path. I might start them off being rotated a little bit already. Like this, that may look better. That's nice. Have that little movement going on there. That's kind of nice. I like that. Okay, the speed of which I'm not sure if this might be too fast, and since I hadn't anticipated, remember this is half speed. Since I hadn't anticipated there to be more ducks in there, I might just make the animation a little bit longer. Yeah, like this whole thing. I think I might just make that a little bit longer at the end so that we have more room for just having no more logo in the scene and just having the ducks swim on the water. I might do that. Oh, 7p. Okay, perfect. Well, tell you what, I will wrap it up by that time, and then maybe I can go and raid you. How's that fun idea, Chris? Let's do that. Then we can all just stay on your stream. That'd be cool. Let's do that. I like this. Have a continuous 3D network of sorts. That's kind of cool. Let's do that. I'm new to rating, Chris, so if you let me know when you're on the air, then I can go and do that. And then there's be like, a seamless overlap thing. That'd be kind of cool. Let's try that. Woohoo! Chris, if any of us get a team together, that'd be so cool. And we can all be part of this team, and there could be always some 3D thing going on. That'd be kind of cool. I love it. No, but I wanted to kind of be done with this already about 20 minutes ago. But 7p, that sounds perfect. In about 15 minutes, let's do this. So I'm just going to make the animation itself a little bit longer to about maybe not much, maybe just to about, I don't know, to here. Let me switch this into seconds so that it doesn't matter what frame rate I set this to. I believe that was under general scene settings. There we go. Frames per second and 3D units, time units. There we go. If I put that to SMPT or SMPTE or the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, then I can see right now the animation. If it's half time, if it's like this is now 40 seconds, so let's say it's 20 seconds. If we make that just 10 seconds longer to about 50 seconds, that might be kind of maybe just 45, maybe just 45, maybe 50. Let's enjoy ourselves. Let's do 50. This is the last frame then, and I'll go and take the whole duck replicator thing, that keyframe, and just put it here. So that means now these guys will be swimming for a while longer, and I'll adjust the speed and time of the other objects that are seen accordingly. So all these things that were supposed to be finished at that point, I'll go and put them also to that. Don't know what that keyframe was there. Then our ball keeps going, that's cool. So then there's no more awkwardness on the ball. It keeps bobbing. If you look closely, you can see it bobbing slightly on the water. So then we have the fish, then we have the duck, then we have the logo. Logo actually goes out, the ball keeps bobbing, and that's Bob's your uncle. I think that is it. That would be cool. Now there's one thing I want to check and one thing I want to do. The first one is that I want this little duck and all the replicated ducks to have the same head movement as the large duck has. If you notice, the large duck kind of wobbles to the left and right a little bit. I would like for the little duck to have the same thing. So let's go and turn little duck's head, not the replicator, this time this little duck's head to, I can't actually see that here. This way, slightly to the left. Then we go to the last keyframe of little duck, which is here. I think, no, it's not, it's here. And now little duck's kind of out of vision here. That's not good, that's not good. So with little duck in vision, we'll go and turn little duck's head slightly to the right. And then on little duck's transform rotation, here it is, we're going to set the tweener to a bit of oscillation magic. So a few more oscillations, maybe 6. Let's see if that's what we're looking for. Yeah, it's not quite exaggerated enough. Not quite exaggerated enough. These guys, these two keyframes, they kind of interrupt the flow here. I'll go and put them slightly forward here, just so that when I click this button, I go on to, see, this has happened again. This guy too, this, there. they're not aligned properly. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'll go and put little guy's head. Little guy, there you go. Little guy rotates a bit more to the right. Nice. And cute. And all of these little ducks will nod their head, so that's going to be visible in the final animation. So timing-wise, we do this, then this happens, then that happens, and that happens. This is fun. I like this. It's going to be nice animation. I think if this is going to work as well as I'm hoping it will, we're all good. I like it, Chris. I like it, Chris. So the one thing I wanted to check is now with my elongated animation, I wanted to know if the water plane, like the water plane we have on the top there, if that's still moving at that point. I don't know. I haven't seen that. So I'll go and have a look at that as the animation ends. So just from this perspective here. Yes, it does. That's good. And that's important because otherwise the underwater kind of wavy effect would go, and that's not good. Let me go and save this as version 10. Save all settings internally, yes. Do you know, Steve, I do get confused quite frequently about AEST and EST. That's because it sounds so similar, but I suppose that it's just what it's called, isn't it? And is that, correct me if I'm wrong there, Steve, is that Australian Eastern Standard Time? Is that what it is? Because I suppose you guys also have the west coast of Australia, which is, how many hours is that? Is that 4 hours? 3-4 hours? Well, I think I'm kind of done. I would love for you guys to see an animatic of this right now or in 2 minutes or so, but sadly it's going to take a little bit longer to render this, especially in 60 frames a second. But it's going to look nice. I'm going to go and render just 1 frame of the ducks, just see what they look like. And that'll be just current frame of that. Oh, in 800, okay, we'd probably go a little bit higher than that. And it's good to do that because that's obviously a glaring issue there. The ducks are mostly underwater. That's terrible. I'm glad we're doing a little test. That is not good. I do take your point about the shadow there, Steampunk Belladonna. I just don't know really what to do about it. I'm not sure. I mean, this is the effect of the ball being in the water. It's the same thing that we're seeing on the duck. So I can just move the ducks up. I can also move the ball up. It'll reduce the shadow, but I'm not sure if that's realistic. I mean, the idea is that the ball is kind of 2/3 underwater. Maybe it doesn't have to be that much underwater. I can probably just move it up a little bit. That'll reduce the shadow. So, you know. Yes, Joe, we're definitely going to do this tomorrow. I can definitely show you what the animatic looks like. Let me fix that duck here. I have a feeling the duck might be, all of these guys might just be, I wonder how I'm going to fix that because it now has keyframes, so I need to find a way to lift the whole replicator up over the whole duration here. Which is the, oh no, actually I haven't keyed that keep that. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Let's go and do that. Just by eyeballing it. Oh, I can't see it on the little duck here. So the little duck needs to be here. That's the idea. So now I'm hoping. Oh yeah, see, this is what he does now. This is what he does. He goes and ducks himself back in the water. That's never good. So from here, you need to be about here, and all your little duck friends need to be there as well. And then on the last frame of your career, you also need to be about here. There. Let's have another look. Has that fixed it? Because my computer takes a long time. It has done it. I'm glad I'm doing it because this is also not looking nice at the front here. I might just reduce the number of ducks down then. That might help it. We'll just have less ducks. Yeah, we need less ducks. Do you know, apparently, Steve, that's why when we get this Google Calendar together, which I'm so sorry I haven't managed to do this yet, but I guess that is the plan. When we do that, it'll automatically correct for everyone's time zone. You put in what fits well for you, and if I look at it, then it shows me what that is in my time, and then let the computers work it out, I think. So is this my duck replicator? Yeah, this is my little duck replicator here, and I'll just make the amount of ducks on the y-axis less, dude. Let's make it 3, and that may work better for the ducks. We can't even make it 2 here. That doesn't have to be that many ducks. I mean, there's still a lot of ducks. It's just there. Maybe that's nicer. Let's try rendering that. Oh, I changed the wrong axis. Man, apologize. I've changed the wrong axis. Now they're still huddled up. It's because I've changed the wrong axis. Man, this is what we needed to change. So I'll make that 3 and I'll make that 3. And then we'll see. We'll try this again. Come on. Let's try this again. It's still not what I want. It's still not what I want. It's one of those things. The ducks are doing my head in. How do I put this to 5? Is that going to work? No. It's also not going to work. This is going to be the one that needs to be set to 5. And this to 4, maybe? Maybe? There's still 2 huddled up here. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Do I need to say shuffle to make that happen? Bizarre stuff. One of those things. Hey, my friends, I'm gonna go and say good night now. I say let's go and join Chris's stream. I'm gonna have more of a fiddle here to perfect the correct constellation of the following little mini ducks that are going to be crawling at the end of our scene. So that's the plan anyway. Let me try and raid you guys over to Chris's stream. I'm going to roll the credits. I'm going to go to my end holding frame, and then I'll try and raid us over to Chris. If he's not quite ready yet, I will go and transition you as soon as he is. My friends, thank you so much for watching. I will see you again tomorrow, at least to show you the outcome of this, which I'm hoping to render overnight. And then we'll see what else we do. Could be a computer game, could be, could be anything, could be more 3D stuff, could be more tweaking on this. We will work it out. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.